while the results were better than expected in Q4, a lot of investors said, look, those forecasts were actually stale, given the numbers that we had from other luxury players recently, whether it was Richemont, Cucinelli, or even Burberry last week, that we know have their own problems in the middle of a revamp. They were so much better than expected, and it was not completely reflected here with LVMH. Things are getting better. So that's the other side of the story. There is a recovery in demand for luxury. It looks like the worst is behind. But we're not completely out of the woods, and things that are showing this is fashion and leather, which makes the bulk of the profit for LVMH. There, the sales were down 1% in Q4. So again, that's better than Q3, but we're still in negative territory. Watches and jewelry up 3%. They were negative in all the previous quarters. So we'll see a recovery on that front, but here again, maybe reflecting that it is the most affluent buyers maybe that are going to Tiffany's and Bulgari rather than the aspirational buyer. Wine and spirits, a segment that is still very much suffering, down 8%, so that's a deterioration. Cognac very much still being impacted there, while champagne is doing better. Now looking at the regions, US, again, a positive story that we heard from the other luxury players, up 3%. Bernard Arnault last night talking about a wave of optimism on that market. He was hoping to see more demand coming from that region. Europe, Brazilian, up 4%. Asia, still difficult, down 10%. But here again, much better than previously. And Bernard Arnault speaking again last night, talking about how he expects a recovery to take a couple of years in China. So here again, still a lot of difficulties in that region. So while he said he sees the start of 25 being very positive, a lot of analysts are taking this with a pinch of salt. There was a lunar year that started earlier than usual. So we're not out of the woods yet. A recovery, yes, but there are still some issues, and that's being reflected in those luxury stocks that have been flying again recently. A huge recovery over the past 3 months. They're kind of going back a little bit on those gains, and we see particularly Kering at the bottom of the CAC 40. They're reporting only in a couple of weeks, and so this caution note from LVMH is kind of reverberating across the sector.